Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for another Studio C70 interview ahead of the May 18th election. My name is Sandy Vogel, and I'm a current Buchholz Fellow with the Committee of 70. Today, I'm chatting with Mark Moore, who is running for Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas in the Democratic primary. Thank you so much for sharing your time and joining us, Mark. Why don't you start off by telling us about yourself?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hit the button. Thank you very much. I'm Judge Mark Moore. I was appointed to the bench last year by Governor Wolf. Took the bench September the 9th, and I've been in criminal court. That's where I sit, courtroom 905. I'm a native of Philadelphia, born and raised West Oak Lane, public school educated, Central High School graduate, all my Lancers out there. And I've been my trial attorney over 20 years in the courtrooms, in these courtrooms here in Philadelphia. I was an assistant DA for my first part of my career, and then the last 8 years before taking the bench, I was staff counsel for Allstate, where I defended Allstate policyholders, everyday individuals who had Allstate as insurance. I defended them against personal injury lawsuits in civil court. So I do have the experience in common pleas court, which is where I sit, and I'm running to stay. And common pleas court, for individuals who don't know, common pleas court is the trial court. It's a difference. Municipal court is where things start, preliminary hearings and minor misdemeanors, but the trial court is the common pleas court. And as a trial attorney, I believe I'm suited, very well suited for the pace of common pleas court. I'm fair, I'm effective, and I have the right judicial temperament. And I think that's important for anyone who's ever been in the court or practiced in court. You know, the judge sets the tone. And, you know, above all, he or she has to be fair, has to be able to effectively handle the cases, but also have the right judicial temperament, because there's a lot of things going on. You know, the judge has to be like the anchor in court. And I believe my experience and my temperament, you know, are a good fit for the court.
Thank you so much, Mark. And also thank you for differentiating between the municipal court and the Court of Common Pleas. I think that's really helpful for people to know when it's coming up on the ballot, the differences there and how that affects the system. What's one life experience that you think voters should know about?
Interesting. I sit in criminal court, and I always say that I can empathize with each of those roles in court. I've been a victim of crime, victim of violent crime before, which clearly has given me a certain perspective on criminal cases. I was also falsely accused of a crime, so I certainly understand where defendants come from. I've also been a prosecutor, so I understand the prosecution, but I've also been on the defense side of the table, representing individuals, even though it wasn't in criminal court, it was in civil court. And and one thing I learned as a defense attorney, in criminal defense, when your name's on a lawsuit, you know, you really don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. And there's a certain level of anxiety that may not be criminal court, but civil court, when you think you're being sued, and one of the main things people said is, am I going to have my house or my property taken away? So I think one of the main life experiences is the fact that I've had those varied experiences. I bring all of that to the bench. Before I went, there's 5 years between law school and undergrad for me. So I worked. So in that 5 years, I gained some life experiences and met some different people and a certain maturity. So again, that is also what I bring to the bench. So I don't think it was specifically one experience, but just the sum total of all my experiences as a lawyer, and even before I became a lawyer.
Thank you so much for sharing. I feel you've touched on it a little bit already, but what are some of the qualities that you have that you would bring to your courtroom? You've mentioned it a little bit, but I'd love to hear more.
Well, let's start fairness. What does that look like? It looks like, first of all, to me, everybody in my courtroom is treated with respect and dignity. Far too often we've had courtrooms and we've had judges who only treat certain individuals a certain way. Me, I understand that there are individuals come to court. Nobody comes to court because they just like it. They come to court because there's a problem. Either they've been a victim of a crime or they've been victimized in some way, or they're sued. And then there's other individuals who are accused. So first of all, you have to be fair, and I am fair. I always say that if you have a case, I'm there all day, every day. So if you have 50 witnesses, put on your 50 witnesses. If you want to come in and you have tons of testimony, we are not leaving until every piece of information from both sides are heard. Also, too, I don't prejudge individuals. I don't prejudge testimony. My concern is what the facts say and what does the law say. And when I say effective, I read a study that, and I don't want to be wrong, but around 50 to 60,000 cases flow through the Court of Common Pleas every year in Philadelphia. And if you break that down between the 90 plus so many judges and a certain amount of judges that are in the Common Pleas Court, that's about 40 to 50 cases each day. So you have to have an individual who, one, understands the pace, understands the law, understands how to resolve those cases, because people deserve to have their cases heard in a timely fashion. You shouldn't have to have your case continued because a judge just can't handle it. And again, as I said before, the judicial temperament, and that's crucial, because I've seen some judges be demeaning, very demeaning, not only to the parties that come before, but to the attorneys. And it is a very big problem. So my world life and my experience just in general, combined with those three attributes, I think among others, and I think I see compassion, is kind of what I bring to the bench, as well as the opportunity. I'm a Philadelphian, so I understand what happens in Philadelphia. And quite frankly, I'm an African-American man. I understand, certain things, different things that happen to individuals of color. And I can understand it, and I empathize that as they come before me. And as I said before, I'm one of those who, I can't change the facts, but as a judge, it's my job to make sure that your experience in court, you're treated with dignity, with fairness, that you understand and you believe that you fully had your case heard and that you were respected.
This goes off a little bit of what you started talking about, of making sure that everyone who comes before you is treated fairly. But to put a name on it, do you feel implicit bias plays a role in the court system, and how do you think that should be specifically addressed?
Well, it does. I mean, individuals have implicit bias. The question is, do you recognize it? And when you recognize it, what do you do? I think what should be done, and what I think is being done now, is they're starting to have implicit bias training and diversity and sensitivity training among the court staff, among the judges. Pretty much what happens in the outside of the courtroom is courtroom is just a microcosm of what happens in the larger society as well. And when you see diversity training and implicit bias training in corporations and Fortune 500 companies, that same mindset and that same training is now being brought into the court system, and it's long overdue. There's no question about it. But the fact that they've addressed it through, I believe, you understand the Cure report, the fact that they've addressed that is a substantial step, into going in the right direction. But they can't stop there. We have to keep moving and keep making breakthroughs.
And what sets you apart from the other candidates that are running for Court of Common Pleas in the primary?
Honestly, they're good candidates, no question about it. Everybody brings their strengths. I mean, I can only touch upon my experiences. I am a product of these courts. I understand there's an ebb and flow to the Court of Common Pleas. And I see now we're in a pandemic. I have about 30 to 35 cases, maybe 30 to 40 cases on any given day, and we have to resolve them. And if you're not behind the bench, life looks a lot different when you're behind the bench than when you're in front of it. So, I mean, I know what I bring, certainly have the experience, I have the compassion, I have the knowledge of the law, and I certainly have, as a criminal trial attorney and a civil attorney, I've developed the skills where I can think on my feet. I can process and multitask a number of things that happen in the courtroom when you deal with different witnesses, different parties, different lawyers, different legal issues, different motions, scheduling issues, certain things that come up. You may have a witness that's supposed to show up even on Zoom, but there's a problem with the technical aspects. So you have to make sure you manage all of that, and you have to do that in a fashion where the case is either given a date because someone's not ready, or if it's a motion, people want a resolution to their question. They don't want cases to be hanging on. So like I said, I know what I bring, and I think I bring a large amount and a diverse array of talents to the bench that would make me a good judge.
Thank you so much. And to wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with voters and viewers today? So not only people who are thinking about making their decisions for the May 18th election on Tuesday, but other people who might be viewing this.
Representation matters. There certainly matters. I think, first of all, when you talk about judges, we don't need to look any farther than last November about how important whoever sits on that bench is and the issues that come before it, whether they're criminal, whether they're civil, whether they're political, election and law issues. The individuals that sit behind the bench need to be fair. They need to represent society. And when I say represent, they need to look like Philadelphia and America. And they also need to have an empathy to empathize with the parties that come before them. You know, as a judge, you're not a god. You know, you're an individual who's bestowed, the power is bestowed upon you to handle cases and controversies. So you need to keep that in perspective. But the judges, there's a wide variety of cases that you hear. We actually heard, when I say me, I heard the case about in March of the two individuals that drove up during the election from Virginia in the Hummer and had the QAnon sticker on the back, and they were charged with election tampering. That's the charges. They were the ones that were outside of the convention center at 10:30 at night, fully armed, just happened to be there. The defense moved to dismiss those election charges in front of me. We dismissed that motion. I dismissed the motion. The Commonwealth's evidence at that point was strong. So those are the type of cases that come before a judge, and I'm in criminal court, but those election charges some of those are crimes. So you can hear any type. You can hear as a judge, you can hear family law, you can hear civil. I started my career as a family law clerk in Camden County. So I do have the background to hear multiple cases. But like I said, as a trial lawyer, I have the experience, the know-how to effectively come in and resolve those cases. So, I would hope voters go out, judges matter, because everybody would need a judge at some point in life, unfortunately, where you have a friend. These local elections matter because the next time you can elect a judge is another 2 years. So, it's a civic duty. Some countries don't have the right. So we implore individuals, and if you can take advantage of mail-in voting, please do so, or mask up and go to the polls. I'm button number 23 in the booth. And this year, the ballot is very easy to read. You don't have multiple judges. You have 16 judges. You have 8 choices. So you have 8 friends that you can, or individuals of that you can choose from. It's not just one judge you can choose. But Philadelphia, we deserve it. We need good judges on the bench. And we hope that individuals take advantage of the opportunity either to come in person or mail in and make those choices, because if you get what you go out for.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all your time and sharing your experiences and knowledge with us. For everyone watching and getting ready to vote, to learn more about the candidates like Mark and the upcoming election, please visit ballot.70.org. You can build your own ballot to save and bring with you to the polls, or when you're filling out your mail-in ballot. The election is Tuesday, May 18th, so this upcoming Tuesday. Don't forget to make a plan to vote in person, or make sure your ballot is received by then. Thank you so much again, Mark, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.